Thank you. Okay, welcome to the Council, Town of Fort Smith, February 17th, 2026. I can confirm we have quorum. The Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge the Town of Fort Smith is located within Treaty 8 territory. Treaty 8 territory also encompasses the traditional homelands of the Salt River First Nations, Thepatay, Penisutla Nation, and the Indigenous Métis people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship of the sacred lands and throughout the generations, and we honor your knowledge, teachings, traditions, and the land. We're mindful that colonization has not been kind, and we respectfully recognize our generational histories and commit to strive for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. I hand the chair over to Councilor Fenelon.
Thank you. So first on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Okay, and a seconder. All in favor? Passed. And then there's the delegations. No delegations. Moving on. Approval of minutes for a regular meeting of council, February 17th.
Sure, I'll move that the minutes of the regular meeting of February 17th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Seconded?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Isn't today the 17th?
Oh, sorry, I just said that. I meant.
The date's wrong.
Oh, sorry, third.
Yeah, kind of confused me too, I'm thinking 12. Alrighty, well.
February 3rd.
3rd, alright. Do you have to say it again? No? Say all in favor? Yeah. Business arising from the minutes. Anything? Nope. Okay. Declaration of financial interest. Number 7, administration, community services, director's report.
Unfortunately, the Director of Community Services isn't able to make it tonight. She's dealing with a family matter. She's out of the community. You've had a chance to review the report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and entertain them on her behalf.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Comments? Here.
Just that the ice looks really good, and got the feedback right away from the folks that are the ice users that it was resolved very quickly, and kudos to the team who's working on it.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on. B, municipal services, director's report.
Ask the Director of Municipal Services to present his report.
Yeah, so my report's there, you guys have read it. Only things I'd like to really add to that is the lead testing in our facilities has begun. So we're done the arena and the rec center first, and I'll give updates on that as we continue through that. And that snow removal activities will begin tomorrow and continue until the snow. We've already resolved our issue with the truck, so that's all I really have for updates.
Thanks. Just to follow up on the lead testing, are we testing as the water comes out of the tap, or are we testing with like our holding? Like, how are we testing for the lead and water levels?
Yeah, so the lead test came in with instructions, and our staff took training to do these correctly. And what has to happen is the water has to sit so that the lead can sink to the bottom, because lead like goes in water. So we'll be doing these testings early in the morning before it leaves the facility, and then in each tap and every faucet and testing location.
Just a couple of questions. So the lead testing is being done in-house?
In-house.
Okay. And I just wondered, is there any update on our water license renewal, is this normal that it takes this long, or like any idea where we are in the process?
Yeah, so it's, up to a year process for this type A, it's a type A water license. And, we're continuing on with AECom, I think their final draft is being delivered to the Kensington Valley Water Board, which then will have, I think it's 6 weeks of, being online for comments and with remarks to comments. After that point, there's some public stuff and that AECom will have to handle, but at this point in the process.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Just reading through your report there, Andrew, I thought I saw it, and I went back and found it, the air handling unit reference that you mentioned for the pool, that's the part that put us out of business last year, right? You said it's been shipped finally? Just so it's clear on the record that that's gonna be fixed finally, that was just a supplier's issue, it's not an our issue, I guess we ordered it a year ago.
Yes, so
Correct.
what's the question?
Just, that's the piece that we've been waiting for that part, like, that's the people wondering, you're like, did that ever get fixed? I just wanna be on the record, it's gonna be fixed, the part's finally here, well done waiting for a year, just wanna confirm it's the right part.
Yeah, we have the right part, it was a supplier issue. And we've had that part for a couple of weeks now, the contractor's not installing it for one, doesn't have to be turned on right now in the cold, and for two, he wants to ensure the surge protection's on there, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Councillor Fox.
Thanks. Yeah, just a question on the filter 3 refit. I assume that filters 1 and 2 were done at a different time? Like they were spread out during their installation period as well? They're not all at the same age?
Yeah, they were done at a different time, and they were done by a different contractor, a different, firm.
Great.
Mayor Ferguson.
Thanks. Just on the, back to the lead, in our, not lead in our water testing, that's not what I wanted to say. But have we ever tested for lead like this in our facilities before? Or is this something new that we're doing?
So every year annually, water tests go off to the, facility up in Yellowknife, and it gets tested for lead. We've never found any, lead or anything concerned of it before, this is over and above. So we follow legislation, we follow regulations, follow mandates.
Anybody else? Thank you, Andrew. Can I get a motion? Number 26, 027.
Sure. I'll move that mayor and council approve the award, the contract to Amtrak Western Inc. for filter number 3 refresh and repair project for the cost of $73,280 plus GST.
Okay. All in favor?
Who seconded that?
I did.
Okay, I just, sorry.
Any questions first?
Is there a discussion on that first?
Now we have
Now we have discussion. Now discussion and then,
Oh,
yeah, discussion
oh,
first.
okay.
Yeah.
Discussion.
So is Amtrak the group that did 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
It was well summarized, makes sense.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimously. Thank you. The briefing note, Housing Accelerator Fund Development Fee Refund for Information. I think that was in the package, right? Is there any comments on that? Concerns?
No, it's just,
Mayor Ferguson?
yeah, thanks. I just wanted, I had these questions following our last meeting, when we had questions from the audience. And I just wanted some clarification from the administration on what that looks like for us. Specifically with the project that he spoke to, we don't even get a development permit for it, so we're not even eligible. It's not on, our property, our land, like we don't have the access, or we don't do that. But that's why I speak any more to it?
Sure. So the question from the gallery at the last meeting was around the development permit fees related to the fire center that is being built at the airport. Director McNabb can speak to what is in our zoning bylaws as it relates to development of airport properties.
He's like, was I? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I received that question earlier today, and just in reviewing our zoning bylaw and knowing from our past bylaw, I've carried forward into the current one that in the airport zone, and it is a specific zone within the zoning bylaw, our bylaw recognizes the GNWT's rights to develop that land under the Airports Act, and it is their land to do with what they will. They do not require a development permit, nor do they have to adhere to any of the zoning bylaw stipulations. They can provide us with documents for review to provide comment, but they're not beholden to the zoning bylaw. So as they don't have to put in a development permit on airport lands, they also do not pay fees for developments on airport lands. And that's in our zoning bylaw. And I don't believe that that is something that we can change. I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure that that wording is out of the act.
Councilor Corbett?
Thank you. Thank you for the information, Director McNabb. This immediately sends off alarm bells in my head about it's fine if those provisions are in the act and in government legislation and things. My question would be, did the Department of ECC even consult the town about that development before deciding where that facility would be placed? I think the town, in good government relations, there should have been some discussion about where that facility is going to be located. It's supposedly an asset to the town. The town's been waiting for this thing to be developed since, it has to be 1990 was when they first talked about fire center maintenance thing out at the airport. And to be quite honest, I don't see a lot of direct benefits to the business community from this project happening. Yes, the contractor based out of Whitehorse is using local contractors who are applicable, but the higher end residual benefits that could have been realized within our community, I think, are going elsewhere. And we're just seeing that happening way too often in other projects and things like that. And I think we should be asking the department, did they actually talk to any of the leadership about where that building is going to be built?
Thanks. Do they pay, like, on town or on airport property? What do they pay for? Do they have an MSA with us or an MOU or something for their services that are provided, like water, sewer, fire, ambulance, all those kinds of things? Like, how do we recover our costs from them?
So the airport does pay a grant in lieu of taxes, which is equivalent to what residents in town or properties in town of the same classification pay. They also pay for water and sewer at the commercial rate that any other commercial property in town would pay. The only thing that in this case that they don't pay is development permit fees for development on airport property.
Councilor Corbett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we've been going through this whole process just recently of the new assessment values of properties throughout the town and things like this. And I'm assuming the assessment value for that new development would be based on the cost or the typically we would base our, assessment on, say, a new development anywhere else within the community based on the information provided in the development permit. We don't have any of that information, so they can just throw out any basic number saying, oh, it's a $20 million facility. We have no way of being able to say yes or counter that until there's a proper assessment done, and that's 10 years down the road now. Are we receiving, is that building going to be taxed at the appropriate rate for what is actually that facility is going to be when completed? If you look, Power Corp's a perfect example. When they undertake a capital project, they throw out a number of $20 million and comes in at 60, or they say $60 million and it's 115 million. So I don't have confidence that the number that they're using for, well, it's costing us this much to contract it, is a legitimate figure for an assessment for, like, we're going to be receiving funding for grant to move taxes, but is it at an appropriate rate, or are we going to have to wait 10 years?
Can I call the point of order, Mike? That's not what this is about. You're talking about the fire center now. We're talking about the HAP program. I don't see, I get your concerns, but I don't think they're related to this briefing note. You've taken us off on a red tangent or a red herring here. I think that's just a point of order from my perspective.
Thanks. I did actually want this briefing note to address whether or not we should be waiving all the development fees for what HAP is paying for. So to have that, although I get what Councilor Brett's saying, I wanted us more to talk about other future development fees that we wouldn't be collecting that's not housing incentive related. So if someone's gonna come in and build something within that we can put a development permit on, we wouldn't be able to realize the revenue made from that because we waived it. And so I wanna know if, one, does this HAP funding is gonna pay for anyone who's gonna build, so if someone's gonna build a big multi-center, something in our community, like, are we recovering the cost from that? And should we, if it's not housing related, if it's something that's commercial or industrial or institutional or something like that, should we not be receiving the development permit for it? And should we only be applying this to things that are specifically developing housing in that program?
Under the motion that was made in 2025, all development permit fees were waived. That includes commercial, that includes home occupations, whether it is housing related or not, all fees were waived. We submitted our annual reporting in January, and CMHC is reviewing it. They didn't bring up any concerns with the fact that we were waiving development permit fees, but it does it does raise the issue that if we're waiving development permit fees on commercial development, that is less money that is available under the entire program of the 2.6 million that would not be available to residential development or that type of thing. So the funding agent hasn't come back with any concerns with the waiving of fees, but it does limit what is available for other aspects of the incentive program.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is the use of the word waive, because the town is still getting the funds, but from the HAP program as opposed to the individual contractor or builder. So waive kind of sets up the wrong idea. And I'm still of the understanding that development permits are required, they just don't have a fee. So we still are aware of the size, scope, and codes and everything else for what's being developed. Is that correct?
Thanks. Yeah, I had brought this up at the time, and maybe I should have been a little more strongly worded about it when I was concerned with it. But I think I'm relieved that the fire center, if we didn't miss out on something, or potentially load up the half budget, with one project, so whenever the right time is, I'm assuming it's not during this discussion, but I will, gladly make a motion that we change this so that it's only waiving fees for anything that supports residential housing. So that could be new residence construction or demolition of old residence to make way for new residents, I think is probably the two, unless, I mean, if we do that on a case-by-case basis, maybe we could even have it, just have them explain why they think it should be waived, and we can evaluate on a case-by-case basis if that's feasible or not, but if it doesn't contribute to residential housing, I think they should be paying the fees.
You had your hand up.
I'll
first.
let Jim, he might
Okay.
answer whatever.
Just to address Councillor Fox's comments, the best idea would be to have it clearly stated upfront and not on a case-by-case basis, because then that leaves it up to interpretation or the person presenting their ability to articulate how the project relates to the HAP program. So it would probably be best to have it as a, residential properties or commercial properties with a residential component to it, as is allowed under the zoning bylaw, would be a better way of doing it rather than leaving it open to interpretation, case by case.
Thanks. Is now a time where we can approach this and change or reword how we have that motion addressed? Can we make that amendment to that motion to how it is applied to the HAP funding before the construction season starts?
Yes, council can amend that motion or to pass a motion to only charge development permit fees on commercial and industrial development that does not have a residential component to it, if that's council's wish. If that's so, then we can draft a motion for the next meeting, and then you can review it at that time and vote on it at that time, rather than crafting a motion here tonight, and we can provide you with all the context.
Councillor Corbett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I will stay on subject this time. I had back on September 23rd also expressed some concerns about the application of the waiver. I think I like the idea of bringing forward some notes and a proposed motion for amending this. As part of that process, I was hoping that we could get confirmation from the Canadian CMHC regarding the actual waiving of fees, should it relate to industrial or commercial development. My experience with federal funding is they sort of say, yeah, and then when it comes down to doing the audits, when they really start going, well, this was for residential housing, why are you waiving fees for commercial? So just maybe if we could, in the short term, ask CMHC to give us a clarification of whether the housing any waiver could extend into commercial or industrial fees.
Just in line with the idea of looking at a possible different motion, we have an advisory, for lack of a better term, body that looks at all the proposals that come in. I would recommend that we consider talking to them before we actually table the motion for wording and how they feel about it, just to make sure they're working with us to approve each proposal that comes in for development, so they've committed to the process. I think we should keep them involved in the process. Their advice back to us on any wording that we use, I don't think it would hurt.
Just that, does administration need a direction from us, or what do you need from us for this next, so we can bring it to the next meeting?
We'll bring it back to the next meeting based on the discussion here. We don't need a formal motion to bring that back.
reading in the briefing note, it said since the motion was passed originally, there have been 26 permits that have been waived, I'm not gonna like that word, but paid for through the HAP funds, 3 of which were commercial, 23 were residential. So I've got a comparison of 3 to 23, but I'd be interested to know the dollar amount. Like, is this even a huge issue? If only 3, that doesn't really add up to a whole amount of money worth changing horses midstream. So if we had that information, I think it would help me make a better decision.
Councillor Bay?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think where we came to this, I sat on the Housing Accelerator Fund, the working group, right? And so I think just to give some context, I think there, as Councillor Karashek was speaking to, it was essentially decided that it would just be easier to waive everything. And we were kind of given that direction from CMHC that was acceptable as the reduced overhead of managing fees and expenses would be offset by not having to do any of them, right? So they kind of balance things out, and so as you can see, there's quite a would you say 30 to 3 or something like that, right? So I think when we went through this process, it was decided that it was just easiest to blanket waive everything and save everybody the time of managing the process, even for those small, the commercial ones that come through.
Thanks. So I guess just to speak to Mike's concern about reaching out to CMHC, I would say if we are changing the potential issue anyway, my preference would be not to ask questions that you don't want the answer to. And I guess on Adam's note, maybe we could just protect ourselves by having a cap or something on there. Just the idea of a $30 million project using up the half funding or being misappropriated, a big GWD project that has, in theory, budget allocated to it to get a free ride on federal funding. I don't necessarily agree with. So maybe if we capped development permit fees to whatever $500,000 projects, then that would protect us from the commercial stuff. And I guess the other consideration would be that I think there's been lots of demand for the idea of commercial space with apartments on top, which I guess would still be commercial. So if we change the wording, then we want to protect that design of residential as well. So maybe a cap is another thought of how to do it. And I guess one tangent I'm going to throw us off topic briefly in terms of the tax, capturing tax stuff at the airport. If they don't do development permits, how do we know it's there? I know that ECC is going to be moving infrastructure onto the airport. How does that change that tax regime? It's not a conversation board here, but maybe it's something to think about going forward.
I can provide a response to that. So even though there's no development permit fee issued, we do advise the assessors that there is development occurring in the community, and every year they come in and they assess all the properties that where there has been development permit fees issued or where they know that there is development occurring. And if the project is partially completed, then they assess it as a partial completion. That is done on an annual basis, so that amount of assessment is applied to the property as the development occurs. So there is no loss, or the assessment is not based on what is written in the development permit application. It is based completely on their review, their on the boots on the ground assessment of the property and its level of completion. So that's not an issue as far. We don't have to wait 10 years for another general. It's done on an annual basis.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Okay. Next is the briefing note for capital project update for information.
you, Madam Chair. So I provided this briefing note, just generally to give you an idea of where, the capital projects are at this current point. Based on, these are the capital projects that were approved in the capital plan last year and additions that were made to it during the year. So I thought I would give you an update on those. I haven't included, financial information in here as we're currently, going through year end and, that type of thing. So I haven't provided financial information here, but, this will give you an idea of where the projects currently stand. And, if anybody has any specific questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Sounds good.
Maybe it's not for you, it's for the mayor, awaiting an update on the TLC's plans for the cemetery fence. Has it even come up? Where are we with that?
Yeah, so I had sent an email out. I did get a response from Tony. I just followed up recently, and so that's where it's at. And so as soon as I get more from them, because it was outlined that we have all the materials and we're looking for their partnership in labor and install for the fencing, and they seem very agreeable to it. So it's more about how to plan that out. And now's the right time to talk to them about it because spring is coming, and so hopefully when I get an update, I will forward that on.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Thanks. Yeah, I just good. I like these. It gives lots of information. I just want to know why there's no descriptor in the Connie Bear Park upgrades, and if I know that we were in the process of that and had funding for that, and what's happening with that. I'm sorry, Jim.
There, as I'm sure you're aware, there was a design that was done, for Connie Bear Park. The design was very, ambitious. And so, I think the feeling was that with the funding that we had and with our own funds and funding that we had received from other sources, that the, design that was put forward would not be able to be, completed with, the funding that was available. I will speak to my directors again tomorrow to confirm that. There was not much information provided as part of, handover from the previous SAO, but, I will, check with, and get more information on that. But that was my understanding, is that, there needs to be some thought around what elements of the design can actually be accomplished with the amount of funding that we have, and if that funding from, Canor is even still available, since the project has been dragging on now for, 3 or 4 years. So, there'll have to be some confirmation of whether the funding is even still available for that project.
Am I allowed to comment on that?
Yes. Want me to take the chair?
Sure.
I'll take the chair.
I sat on that board, and there was like 3 different options for that, and that was the one that they chose. But they still have the plans for those, so I'm sure maybe we can look at a different option, like some more feasible.
I'll see if I can find, those options that were presented, and, also the availability of the funding, and, I'll bring back information on that at the next meeting.
Thanks. I just had a couple questions. Well, the Centennial Arena upgrades, they keep getting pushed off. They've probably been being pushed off annually since sitting on council and now as mayor. I just want to make sure that the things that were going to get repaired, like boards and maintenance and repairs that were set to be at the arena, are going to happen this year, because they were not done in years previous. so much to then get it back to just a basic level. So just looking at the numbers of of youth, community involvement, and everything that happens at that arena by the numbers, it definitely, when it comes time to substantiations and given, we should be considering that when we're evaluating that.
Councilor Burnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This may be a bit premature with, in the discussion, but I know on previous councils, we've spoken to the concept of possibly looking at some resources dedicated to project management. And I would be hoping as part of the capital budget processing that administration would be kind enough to give us some recommendations on how we should actually be managing a lot of these projects. We look at all our directors are incredibly busy as it sits, and throwing a bunch of capital projects on their plate at the same time, I don't think it's fair to them, and I don't think it's fair to our constituents to have capital projects falling behind, because you can only juggle so many balls, no matter how good of a juggler you are. So I'm hoping administration can provide their insight and valuable recommendations towards this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a number of the capital projects are currently being managed by outside firms. Even with that, it does take a substantial amount of time, the director's time and my time, to deal not only with the contractor, the engineers, but also with project management. So most of the projects that we have, there is a project management component to it. But we will look at those, the capital projects that we bring forward, and identify which ones, will require project management. But that still does require a fair amount of director's times and SAO's time to move those projects forward as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Just scrolling through this as everybody was talking, and I have to say, Jim, it's a great list. Thank you very much. I've got a comment that the number of this is completed, this is almost completed, is inspiring. You guys have been doing a great job by looks of everything here, because there's not a whole lot of here that are sort of like the arena, but it was one of the few that is we're waiting for. Most of them are at some level of completion, so somebody should say, well done. I mean, if this is as accurate as it can be, you guys are on a good path.
Councilor Cox.
Thanks. Yeah, Deputy Mayor took some of the words away from me there. But certainly, I think when we started looking at this last year, it was a very overwhelming list to a new council. But again, a lot of it has been done or is making progress. Very clear that capacity could be better in the town if we had more resources, more consultants. And that's where it'd be really interesting, like Mike was saying, I don't know how quick it would be to pull up the numbers, but I'd be curious to see how much we paid for project management fees to consultants over the last year. Because if we're paying $150,000 in fees, then that could easily be a seat upstairs who could have a one-on-one conversation with you guys rather than arranging phone calls and stuff. I mean, granted, I don't know if it's feasible or not, but in terms of capital growth, I'd much rather see a project manager here than somewhere in Yellowknife or Edmonton. So I would be amenable to a discussion on that at least. And yeah, I'm sure in our next capital plan we'll find more stuff to put on this list. There's always something, but yeah, we are getting stuff done, and there's nothing super scary on here anymore. So
That's the next list.
yeah, it could be.
Jim.
Thank you. So as part of capital planning that we'll be bringing forward in March, we'd like to, I'm proposing to put together a capital plan that is more focused on maintaining the assets that we have, and only in cases where new development is required or work that needs to be done for water and standard that, it should be at, not that there's anything wrong with our water now, but there's always ways to make improvements and that type of thing, so, some of the capital projects that you see coming forward will be based on that type of work, and also, putting together a list of critical components in all of our facilities and infrastructure, so that we have, parts, an inventory of equipment and things that, should a pump break down, we have the ability to replace it rather than waiting 6 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever for a new pump, so that, the level of service doesn't go down and we can continue to provide, programming and services to the community. So those are two things that, I'd like to focus on in, for the next capital plan, but, we will also revisit these ones that, are currently underway and, have been proposed in the past.
Do we have any more comments on this? Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover for the, briefing note for the capital budget request, dispatch hardware? Councilor Cox.
I'll move the council approve a 2026 capital budget commitment of $15,000 for communications equipment. This capital budget be used to install necessary hardware and software for the procurement of fire and EMS dispatch services.
I'll send you a second. Councilor Corbett. Okay, discussion. Councilor Cox.
I guess, a couple of questions, I guess, but first one now, after just talking about capital budget stuff coming up in March, I guess one question would be, why is this preceding the rest of the potential capital plan? Which was talked about last year as well, but I have that question, maybe I didn't follow up on that.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Cox. We have an O&M budget that was recently approved that is for this year's procurement of and ongoing costs of having a dispatch service, and rather than waiting months for the discussion and creation of all of the documents that will need to support the broader capital budget, we're hoping to move this project forward quickly. So this is a pre-existing budget line for Evergreen, and actually, fortunately, this hopefully will be a budget line that we can remove in years going forward, because we're actually reducing the capital needs of communications equipment by having this dispatch service. Yeah, we brought it forward early, but the whole project is contingent on this hardware, so we can move forward with O&M expenses.
Councilor Corbett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe I know the answer to this, but I think, for just public disclosure, will the, acquisition of this new dispatch improve our ability to communicate with the public during emergencies?
Thank you. This dispatch service will greatly improve our ability to communicate directly with people that are calling for emergency services. It won't have a broader impact on our emergency communications. We already have systems in place that are quite good at getting emergency notifications up, but rather it will certainly increase our ability to communicate directly with people calling our service, and it will reduce the time between call and dispatch and improve the information transfer for dispatch. Great service improvement.
Councilor Cox.
Thanks. I guess I'm gonna do the Councilor Crew rep thing in terms of just GWT rent. I mean, the dispatch system that we have now has gotten us by for years, and it's been through kind of the grace of people who've been able to help out. But it's worth pointing out that it's another example of GWT offloading capacity and putting more demand on the municipality. So this is costs that has been handled elsewhere, even if it is just through a gentleman's agreement. But now, right, to do it right, we end up having to take it over, and we're seeing that over and over through a number of different avenues. So I just, it's worth including that rant and remembering all these extra costs when it comes time when people start getting mad at us for the tax increases that have to happen. We need to make sure that we hold GNP accountable for all these nickel and dime things. That's it. Thanks.
Are there any other comments on this? Counselor Cookie.
Actually, I'm quite in favor of this, because with my job, I've had to call the RCMP, I've had to call ambulance. You get, using 911, if you have someone who's been stabbed, then you're gonna get 15, 16 questions from the RCMP. Where this system would be, we have a stabbed victim, we need, here's the address, forget the questions, the service would be much quicker, and, actually, it's much better than what the GNWT is offering anyways. So, by the time we finish asking all these questions, somebody could bleed out. As far as I'm concerned, we've been lucky. That hasn't been the case, but when you're in an emergency situation and you need immediate help, it's nice to know you can just make a quick phone call, give the address, here's the situation, thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Carr.
Thanks. Sorry, I guess in terms of clarification on that process, what I assume would happen is, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody would still call 911, that still goes to 911 in Yellowknife. And then if we say RCMP, they're gonna say RCMP, they're gonna put you through to RCMP, but if we say fire or ambulance, then both those go to that dispatch.
To the response 911.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yeah, to that point, so 911 will still be a number that people can call in Portsmouth, and our intention with 911 dispatch is that they would answer the call, they would ask for fire or ambulance, and they would immediately transfer them to this. So they would still call, they can still call 911, but rather than go through the 911 dispatch process and the questions that you're describing, they would go to this call center and they would be routed through to us directly. We are going to continue to operate our local number as well, so if folks know the local number and want to call 911, they would get directly, rather than calling 2222 and getting the fire department, they would get our dispatch service and they would dispatch us directly. So both will still be avenues. I am considering getting rid of the ambulance number, since both fire and ambulance will be answered at the same place. We can simplify it down to one local emergency number, but that's for discussion in public communication after rollout. So the process will still allow people to call 911, but they'll be immediately call switched to our dispatch.
Any more discussion on this? Counselor Knox.
Sorry, lots of questions on this because of course I'm keen on. So I guess in terms of that dispatch service, and in terms of, so somebody's calling an ambulance and they call 911, I need an ambulance. I'm assuming, so if that remote telehealth kind of CPR instructions, things like that, would that potentially come from 911 or the dispatch, the new dispatch service, or both, or either or?
Thank you. So we are actually just right now reviewing the contract, and the appendices of it include the creation of those sorts of policies and procedures, and that'll be done in partnership with the municipality and Strathcona Dispatch. So I can't speak directly to our approach on that. We may have to make some changes along the way. We're going to be one of only 2 ambulance services dispatched by them. They've actually dropped
you end with you?
Oh, and
If you want to start with you, you can start with you.
Unless you're big enough.
Chair, point of order.
Okay, I'll start with Patty.
No.
Sure, so, I do apologize for my absence the last meeting. I had a infection that, because I never go to a hospital, you don't ever find out. But I did actually end up going, so, luckily Dana and, Deputy Mayor Kaiser were, kind enough to attend a strategic plan for the Northern Ed Museum and Cultural Center for myself. That was held on January 31st. And I've been continuing with the love program, and the thrift store. Obviously, with Maureen's injury, that's going to be a huge loss for our community with her holding down the fort here for the years that she has. So I do wish Maureen a speedy recovery and good luck to whoever's going to be taking it over. The Northern store was again with another huge donation to our local food bank, so definitely a big shout out to Kim, Sam, Ryan, and their young staff in helping move all of those food items over to the food bank, as it's still quite busy being in January and February months. And the animal shelter AGM is upcoming March 2nd. I believe it's at the fire hall, 7 p.m. They do want to get some numbers of pizza and who else is going to be there, so I highly recommend reaching out to Robin or Derek about confirming your attendance there. And today is Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, so Kun Hai Fat Choi. It's just wishing you prosperity and all in this year of the fireworks.
Thank you, Patty. Councilor Panther.
I don't have a lot. I just, as part of the senior society, I know we've lost a couple senior members over the past little while, so my condolences go out to the families of those individuals, and that's really all I have to say.
Deputy Mayor.
Well, getting tired of hearing me say this, we'll be over soon. The NWTAC Associated Communities AGM is 2 weekends away now, not this weekend coming, but the next. So I will be up for that, as will I think Dana, and I'm not sure who else was coming up. Mike, were you coming up? Okay, so a few of us will be there. Before that occurs, there is a meeting with the NBT Power Corp that Councillor Couvret and myself will be attending to hear the wonderful story of how they're managing our power system, I'm assuming. See how that unfolds. Today, just to put it on the agenda for future meetings, I guess. I had quite an exchange with a local resident on the advisory board committees that we've held at Fort Smith in the past, wanting to know where they're going to be resurrected, where they're going to be used. So I think we need to address that as a council at some point in the next one. I think the mayor had some words on that as well. I'll leave the next one to you, I guess, as a volunteer recognition, because that was your project.
I wasn't going to bring that.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, that's another exercise. Okay, well, that's my summation so far.
Thank you.
Should we go to Councilor Babe, because we kind of
Oh,
passed him?
sorry, Councilor Bain, you have.
Muted.
Councilor Babe, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, in kind of the spirit of the conversation earlier about volunteers, just really wanted to note they see some really good work around the community. In particular, seeing, I get to see, the volunteers involved with the hockey programs, and just love seeing the involvement that people have been having in the community. On the other side of things, just wanting to give condolences to people who've lost people recently, their friends and families recently in the community. Our neighbor Brenda, I'll miss seeing her, and she was always a bright light for us in our part of the community, really close with our saying nice things and always out interacting with the people of her neighbors. So she'll be missed.
Thank you. Mayor Ferguson.
All right, so yeah, I I did want to bring up what Deputy Mayor brought up, is on January 20th, I had asked the council for feedback in regards to our community advisory boards. Like, they work on things and give us input on all sorts of things. And I wanted to know what we wanted to do with our advisory boards. I have yet received not an email from anyone in regards to what we want to do with our advisory boards and that. So take that back again. Maybe I'll follow up with an email instead, just so that we can, like, what are we? I don't want to lose our advisory boards. This is our community contact. This is who keeps us in touch with what's happening with things that we're not involved with directly. So really want to use them if we have something to use them for. I was going to mention Animal Societies, their AGM, but that was done. We had a good meeting with the RCMP. They came and saw with us, spoke with us at the RCMP. I think that went well. It opened up some lines of communication, and I liked seeing that, and it gave us, good feelings. So next time, or if anything comes up again, I think our protective services are better equipped with working with the RCMP here in our community. I don't have to say anything about NWTAC. You want to cover that. We also, TLC met with the Board of Governors and the President of Aurora College. It felt like a much different meeting than when we first met with them. It felt a lot of listening occurred, collaboration it felt like occurred, and I walked away less angry than I normally do at those kinds of meetings, so it was very hopeful and optimistic. So we'll see what NWTAC has, because we have a sit down with Caitlin Cleveland on one-on-one with her, so specifically on our open letter from TLC, so I hope that will have good results from that. And don't forget that at the end of this month, we're hosting Snowboarding Canada Winter Games trials here in our community. And so go out and cheer the kids on. I won't be here. I'll be won't be at WTAC, but it's happening at the end of February. And I think that was all the things I had. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Tucky.
Don't have too much to say, but I would like to pass my personal condolences on to the families who've lost loved ones in the last little while. Very outstanding citizens that we've lost. And that's about all I have.
Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think there's much new in terms of board meetings and whatnot, but I guess we're getting into the longer days now. I noticed there was some hint of light while I was driving here this evening. It was pretty amazing. So yeah, busy times coming up. Between dog races, frolics, Tabacho Loppet, fishing derby, lots of stuff going on. So get out there and support the community, I guess, is the thing to do this spring. So that's it. Thanks.
Councillor Corbett.
Nothing to add. Like other councillors here, would like to express my condolences to those that have lost families and friends over the last bit. They're dearly missed, and hopefully their memories live on.
I just want to say thank you to the people who keep our roads nice and clear and safe for driving, because I drive a lot. I'm all over the roads, but yeah, even the highways and the roads in town and the sidewalks. Thank you so much. Proclamations.
It's where, if we would say proclaim, like what was the one we did? Clean air. We did or the chemical one. It's something we would bring up. We don't have it.
There's none? Okay. So the next council meeting, regular meeting of council, Protective Ed Corporation, March 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. And the chair for that one is Councillor Kershaw. And then the next one is the regular meeting of council, community and municipal, March 17th, 2026. Do we have a?
Alright, it's March.
March 17th, 2026 at 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I say something else?
No,
Oh,
you were correct.
Rita's
I
calendar
heard something else.
disagreed with
okay.
it.
Trustee, thank you. Hey, can we have, can we have anybody?
No,